here with Philip Stowe.
I'm here with Eric.
Sorry, it's your.
That's all good. Eric.
Yeah.
3 days of Electronica. How's it been? What have you learned? What's new?
Wow. It's been exhausting. This show is huge.
Yeah, it is.
And I've walked some of those other halls, not all of them.
I have only been to adjacent halls. I haven't managed to get.
Yeah,
I think you've been to like C5, C7, which is like almost a different town.
It really is. And it's packed. There are people from all over the globe here, right? I mean, you see pavilions of them, but then individual companies too. So just the scope, there's nothing like this, right? They're just, so just the scope of this underscores why this is such an important show for the industry.
Yeah, and why it's so enduring, which I think is, it's the key. The fact that it's biannual, the fact that there's so much here. We've added semicon to it, so it's even bigger.
And biannual is the key, right? You don't to death every year, right? And people spend a lot of money here. We look at some of these booths, right? It's amazing. I like the little thing for the EMS Scout did over here with brought more smaller EMS who probably couldn't afford or wouldn't have the budget for this, but they could at that level. I think that's a good model for other shows to potentially mimic, right? Yeah. Because having EMS at trade shows is not a bad thing for the electronics industry.
No, and it's nice. They put a cafe in the middle. Everybody kind of shared the space, and I like that. I like that sense of community rather than this is our territory and that's your territory.
Exactly,
It's kind of nice.
People do get a little territorial here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We were at that happy hour last night and they had security come in. Remember, we were in the aisles.
Oh, yeah.
Said, oh, no.
Yeah, don't use the aisles.
All of a sudden we had a security blockage.
Yeah.
3 big German ladies walking between in the aisle. They could
there you go.
People were separate. So no, this is always a fun one to come to. What have I learned? God, a lot, right? The industry obviously has been hurting, right?
Yeah.
Everything has been around that. Everybody's making a big push about that excess inventory. And that, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. I just heard a speech right over here, somebody giving a big presentation about it. So,
well, the speech we're hearing right now, I think, is indicative. They're talking about India. If there's a manufacturing geography that's being discussed here a lot this week, it's India.
India is hot right now. I mean, for good reason. Yeah. Right? I mean, they're doing a lot of good things. Everybody wants to know about that China Plus One. What does it do? What's the role of China? China's everywhere here too. Yeah. Right. So you can't not hit them up. They were just wandering the hall in this one again. So, can I say it? I mean, we have a lot of Chinese girls handing out, sales leaflets
from the aisles when they don't have a booth.
And we had I spoke to one EMS customer over here in Hall A1 that was standing in front of their booth, handing it out to the people coming to see that EMS. Yeah. They had to tell her to move on.
Yeah.
I mean, but that also speaks to what's going on in China, right? That's a data point.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely an urgency to win business. It's bad show etiquette, but it kind of is indicative of what's going on. You guys have just had an election in the US.
We did.
The best thing about that is it's over from the rest of the world's point of view. The sense is that we are in a phase, and this might have been regardless of who won the election, of a world that is less global, more regional, perhaps a little bit more protectionist. The word tariff comes up often, and it's coming up in Europe as well as it is in the US. Part of that is the Indian thing, but part of it is just with the EMS guys I've spoken to, particularly the very large one, there's a sense that they've got to redesign their footprint a little bit, make some adjustments, but also put agility in the footprint because they don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody here it's funny you say that this afternoon, who was saying, we have a toehold in the Americas and we think we want to expand that. Well, what's it going to be like the next 4 years? What do you think it's going to be like? I said, listen, I think the next 4 years are going to be focused on some healing, I guess would be the term, within the United States. The United States is tired. The United States has a lot of issues that we need to work through and will. Yeah. Democracy will survive. 4 years from now, we'll still be a democracy. I'm not worried about that. And that's good for the world too, right? I need, it's hard to be engaging everywhere if your core is sick, right? So I think they need to fix some fundamental things. It may be noisy at times, right?
Absolutely.
But I think it's necessary. And the United States is kind of tired from the military side of we've been on a war footing for over 20 years.
Yeah,
that's exhausting.
Yeah,
right. And
so
that
there are
takes
some
its toll.
issues there that need to be wrapped up. But it does take it takes its toll. It also has an impact on the industry, and it has an impact on where OEMs are thinking about their manufacturing. Has an impact on where EMS companies think about where they're going to build the next facility, where are they going to add capacity. And I know we're in this period where the inventory bubble and the cost of money and all those things have perhaps slowed down investment. That will come back, and when it does come back, I think India is going to be a strong winner. I think Mexico remains a very, very good option. I'm speaking to a investment group tomorrow from Costa Rica, which is interestingly where Zollner is. So I'm fascinated by that. You've just been to Romania. That remains a very good option. Earlier in the year, you were in Tunisia.
Getting more interest, yeah.
So I think
Mexico is an interesting one because we've been having that discussion with some people down there. The labor cost advantage is really not there anymore.
Is less,
But that doesn't mean let's build in America now because there's that infrastructure and the supply chain
and talent
and the talent, all that's there, and that's the issues. You need to rebuild in these things, and that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of investment going on in the semiconductor industry. There's a lot of talk here about protecting the printed circuit board industry, the whole silicon to systems thing that's going on. I think those are all important, but I see the old thinking of chasing low-cost labor world is gone, and we're in a much more pragmatic stage where we're actually looking for low-cost local. I think that's the kind of phrase I'm hearing and coining a little bit because it just makes more sense and perhaps creates more sustainable solutions.
No, absolutely, and always was that day. Before everybody went to China, it was regional, and every region had a low-cost area, right? Even in the United States, it's not one labor cost, right? There's differential within that. And you're
going to build a factory in California, it's going to be different to a factory in Alabama.
Exactly right. So, so I think you're right. There is that low-cost local. Was that it? Low-cost local, and then there's the whole automation, right? It's that balance between that automation and the workforce.
Thank you for mentioning automation, because that was going to be my next topic. The one thing you take, you come here and you talk to all the EMS guys and you want to know about the trends and everything else, but you also want to know about innovation, what's going on in innovation. And I am absolutely fascinated by what's happening with respect to AI in this industry and these new exciting players that are kind of younger people coming into the industry, bringing innovation and ideas, and then how that collides with people with huge amounts of manufacturing experience designing solutions that can solve labor problems, that can maybe make some of those high-cost environments more competitive and kind of take us through that Industry 4.0 line that we've really struggled to get across.
Industry. My take on that is also the new and the technology, and that's great, and the young people coming in, but their knowledge of and experience with manufacturing is limited, right? And so that trends, and we have that aging, the gray tsunami that's going on. And so we need to do a Vulcan mind meld, right? And pass along some of that, because manufacturing is not a simple thing, right? And
EMS is not a simple
industry. It is not an easy industry, and experience matters there. And that's why even with balancing automation because of labor challenges, everybody is still talking about the importance of the experience of their people and their people's ability to have the relationships with their customers. So when times get tough, as they inevitably will, that they're able to work through things, right, in a collaborative way. All of that still matters. My concern would be, how's that being addressed as we transition through the transition has begun. So, I hope we're going to be successful in doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you look at the last 10 years of the Industry 4.0 hype, a lot of the problem was that we didn't have ingredient technology at the beginning. We didn't have connectivity. We didn't have data standards, and we have that now. Last thing, we should pay a little bit of...
How far on that scale from Industry 1.0 to 4.0, how far did you think we actually got on there?
I don't think we got much out of 3. I think what we did get in the last 10 years is we got really good connectivity. So we can drive the data. We have copious amounts of data, but we need to convert that data to insight, and then we need to convert that insight to value. And we're doing that. And maybe AI is one of the tools, partly because of the sheer volume of data, but maybe it's one of the tools that will help us do that.
Okay.
I wanted to mention IPC. We were posted on their booth. It's been a pleasure to be here. It's also been interesting to talk to them and to listen to what's been going on. The work they're doing in Brussels is really important. The work they're doing in Washington is important. They have government strategies in many other countries now. It feels like they're really working hard to actually promote the industry in a lot of different places around the world, and are actually really adding value. So I think that's important.
No, it is, and I love the soldering
soldering competition.
And soldering competition. I do too. Yeah, I hadn't really, since we're sharing the booth, and you're right, they've been very gracious in allowing us to do this. I've never seen it kind of cradle to grave, everything that happens and all the steps. I walk by while it's going on, and I still don't quite know why big men with big hands are doing so well. With soldering, you think you need tinier hands, a little more dexterous, but that's why I'm in the press and not on the shop floor. So,
no, it's fascinating, and I look at that and I think, wow, we've got individual engineers there that are really skilled and are testing their skills and really showing their mettle doing that. And then at the other end, we've got people from the European Union that have showed up to take part in the debate to talk about the initiatives that will potentially impact the industry for years to come. So, as you say, it is cradle to grave. It is the full gamut of the industry.
And it's good because you cannot walk this show and not realize how important this industry is to the economy, any economy, right? I mean, this is so critical. I'm always amazed. I've walked through a lot of factories in the past week, as we did our tour. You see all these products, right? And I keep thinking, most people in the world go about their lives completely oblivious to what's behind the box, right? And all the cabling and all the intricate, all of that, we all just take it for granted, right? And but it is really what keeps the world running.
And technology gets better and better. It gets more and more impressive, and we just take for granted that these guys are going to keep making it for us, and they are, and which is great news for them. The underlying trends. Much as there's a little bit of a bump in the road at the moment, the underlying trends are good. There is technology everywhere.
There is, and it is going to pick up. People are going to start buying again. The factories will start churning out again, and they're ready. They really are.
Yeah, they are.
It's a good thing.
Eric, thanks so much for being here with me this week. I've really enjoyed your company, as I always do, and I look forward to next time we do this.
We will. Stay tuned.